Hi, welcome to Cafe Racer Kits. This is the first in a series of videos that we're going to be doing to show you the stages in converting the CX500 donor into one of our Cafe Racer specials. Okay, so the first thing is, let's introduce you to our donor bike. This bike was bought off of eBay. It's got no MOT, it's got no tax, but it seems pretty sound. It was used as a commuter for many years and lived its life outside. So what we'll do, we'll take a look around the bike first, and I'll show you some of the things that you should look for when you're choosing your donor bike. Alright, okay, you can see the bike is a bit tatty, but that's not a problem. But what would be a problem would be if the frame was too rusty to use. Now, one of the places you need to check is down here at the engine mounts. Under here sometimes goes rusty, and if here, these seams here can rust out as well. So always have a good poke around down there. This one feels pretty sound. The rear footrest hangers are another area that suffer from rust, but they can be repaired if they've blown out here. It's not too big a problem, it's just a bit of a welding patch that would need to go on. Another area the CX suffers is here underneath the swinging arm. Because there's no chain, there's no oil and no grime to stop it going rusty, so that's another area that's just worth a little poke about to see if that feels sound under there. Again, you can make repairs, but it's a bit more work. Let's go around the other side and have a look there. Alright, we're on the other side now, and it's exactly the same. Have a good feel around here, all under here. If it's rusty, you'll probably feel it all flaking away. You could poke it with a screwdriver. I have checked this one over before, so I know that it's going to be pretty good. You can see here there's little gaps in the frame, and the water can collect in there and just start to eat the rust away from the other side, from inside. So that's probably the most important things to check, is all of that. There's a couple of other things that we can talk about as well, so let's have a look at those. Okay, here's another typical CX fault. Have a look at the main stand. If you look closely here, it's been cut and welded, and these do corrode out. Again, it's not a huge problem, but this one, whoever welded it put the lever in the wrong position, and this is a complete swine to get up onto the centre stand. So we'll probably have a go at that during the build. Either buy another stand off of eBay, or see if we can repair that one. Another thing to check. If you look here at the wheel spindle end should be pretty well flush with the outside of the swinging arm. I've bought a few bikes where people have clamped this up and then wound the nut up on the other side of the wheel, and they've actually bent this side of the swinging arm. Now again, it can all be fixed, it's only a question of sort of heating it up and bending it back a bit, but it's another little thing to check. This one's good. If that bends in, what you'll find is you won't be able to get the wheel out easily, and you probably have to take the bevel box off to get the wheel off. If you can, if your bike's all complete like this one, what we don't want is a tank that's rusted out. So you can have a feel round here under the seams of the tank, all around here. This one feels pretty good. And also, slosh it about. There's a bit of petrol in this one, and it stood with petrol in it for some time. So we can be pretty confident that this bike's okay, that the tank's going to hold. It's got a few dents and all the usual signs of life, but that's okay, we can sort that out during the build. If you're able to, check you've got some power and that things maybe, I don't know if the indicators work on this bike or not, they don't seem to. Oh, these do. Those don't. Let's see if we've got any lights. Yeah, got some stuff there, brake light. Yeah, so that's all quite a good sign. Obviously, if you can, it's a good thing to try and start the bike. Now, I don't think this one will go immediately. We might have to put a bit of a booster battery on it. No, battery's flat. I'll go and get the booster and see if we can get some life out of it. Okay, we need to take the seat off, take the side panel off, and then we can have a go and see if we can get some life out of the bike. Now the seat on this one I think is pretty well gone. Doesn't matter, we're going to throw it away anyway. So that will just come off. And then the side panel here was only just about held on. I think the clips have gone, which is quite a normal state of affairs for the CX. So let's hook it up and see if anything happens. Right, that one goes on there. That's the negative. That's your positive. See if we can get it to turn over. Not much happening yet, but it's turning over. I think my booster battery is going to fail before it starts. We'll have a go. Now that is really good. The motor's run, the engine's nice and quiet, the oil light went out. There's a bit of a misfire, but when I picked this bike up the chap said that one of the coils has gone, so I'm not too bothered about that. There's one last thing we could do now, which would be really handy, and that would be to check to see if we've got a charge. So let's show you how you do that. What I've done, I've got a cheap voltage tester. These are about £5 from Maplin's. I've set it to the 20 volt DC range, and I've put the terminals across the battery. So at the moment I'm reading my booster battery voltage, which is quite high, 12.41. So if you set that on there and then get the engine going, what you're looking for is to see the voltage go up to about 13.5 volts with the engine running. Let's see what we get. Okay, that's good news. It went up to 14 volts, which is a little bit high, but that's because it's got a flat battery and a funny little battery there on the booster thing. But that's enough to say that we've got output from the alternator and our regulator's working. So we can be fairly confident that when we put the whole thing back together, it all should work. And if we find that there's a problem and there's no charge, it's probably something to do with the wiring rather than the engine. So all in all, I reckon this is a pretty good donor bike. I think we're on to a winner here. So having checked it all over, there's one other thing that you really did ought to check, and that is that the engine number and the frame number match the logbook. A lot of people forget to do that, and it can result in all sorts of problems at the end of the build. So make sure you check those. This one checks out fine. Next thing is to tear it all to pieces.